All right, here we go. This is the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, August 13th. Friday the 13th. Oh, yuck. Explains why I'm recording so late. But from Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson. And welcome to HomeTech Podcast, a podcast about all aspects of home technology and home automation. I got a number of HomeTech headlines I didn't think I was going to have this week, but I guess not recording the show on Wednesday and waiting till Friday, almost Friday. It's like 9 o'clock on Thursday right now. Greg's here. Welcome to the show, Greg. I'm going to bring you in. There you go. Welcome. Thanks for swinging by. But yeah, it's been a busy week. Very busy week. But I needed to get something out tonight. There's been a lot of news actually this week, and kind of picking up some pieces and missed stories from the last couple of weeks. But yeah, clearly going to happen. Looks like Greg's in here too. Thanks for showing up, guys. Two Gregs. I've got Greg S and Greg R. Thanks for swinging by. But hey, I do want to mention our HomeTech Talks this week. We had a pretty good discussion actually today, since today is Thursday. But last week was a design review part 2. This week was the SEO generated title was the death of custom. I don't know if that didn't really gather too many more people, but we had a fun conversation about a lot of interesting ideas kind of floating around about what custom AV and custom install is, and is it going away? And the consensus seemed to be that no, it's not. It's not going anywhere. But we had a pretty good discussion. There was also a pretty good discussion in the hub too. So if you are a member of the HomeTech Podcast, you should have access to definitely the back catalog, or the back catalog of at least the conversation that we had there in the hub. I still have not. These last couple of weeks have been insane, and it all kind of revolves around work and more work. But I still have not been able to get some of those things put up. So I'm hoping to do that. Some of the older HomeTech talks, hoping to get those put up as soon as I can. A number of them are already edited, and I just need to post them up. So hopefully you guys will start seeing those soon. Sorry that it just has not happened, but I am committed to getting them up. I download them every week, and Zoom yells at me every single time we record that I'm over my balance in recording, because these things are about an hour long. And for some reason it records it in like 4K, even though everybody's camera is like Potato Vision 320 on the Zoom recording. So it's all got to be resized and worked around and all that good stuff. I don't know why Zoom does that, but I guess it's just to give me a headache. And yeah, there you go. But with that all said, what do you say we jump in to some HomeTech headlines? Well, what a week in HomeTech headlines it was. Earlier this week, Savant Systems announced that it decided to pull out of the CEDIA Expo, scheduled for the beginning of September in Indianapolis, due to concerns surrounding health and safety. As the COVID Delta variant continues to fuel a new wave of infections around our country, many potential attendees are likely to make the same calculation. Savant had a pretty large booth. I think it's about a 4,200 square foot booth. It's one of the largest ones at the show. And they also announced that all their training would be taking place not at the expo, but virtually. So they've kind of pulled all their employees out of that. As I was writing this up today, a similar story dropped from Snap One, which is also Snap AV, massive company, and Control 4. I think they probably had the biggest booth, or the biggest pair of booths. Usually they have two, one for Control 4 and one for Snap AV. They are now pulling out of the show and will not be attending the show, the expo this year. CEDIA Expo did, kind of like in between all this, CEDIA Expo did release a statement saying that they were expecting around 10,000 people to show up at the show, with only 6,000 current registrations. So that's far fewer than the 25,000 that we've seen attend in the past. And as far as those Delta variant concerns, CEDIA said they will not be requiring masks for attendees at the show at this time. But if anything changes in the future, they'll update all that on their website. And I've heard more, since all this, the Control 4, Snap One, I guess, thing, and Savant. I've heard rumors of more companies that are talking about making a decision in the next couple of days. So kind of a End of an era, I guess, for these shows. I've definitely talked about this in the past, that I think that these big shows, they're great to go to, but I think they've seen their time. And one of the things I think, kind of going back to Bob Madonna and what he said in his letter to dealers, he said, "We look forward to meeting you, assuming safer conditions, early next year as Savant prepares smaller, targeted events for 2022 in Q1. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out and how other manufacturers react to that as well. We've seen Crestron do that in the past with great success, and by all accounts from dealers that I talked to, it was great to have these little local shows or regional shows that you could go to and get tons of great hands-on time. I think we're going to see a lot of companies start to do that here in the future, because going to these shows, while they're fun, they do cost a lot of money. Not only for if you're a dealer or an attendee, but it costs millions of dollars in some of the cases of these larger companies. So making the calculated move not to attend saves you tons of money that you can put into other marketing efforts. And clearly, Savant sees that effort, as smaller events, smaller targeted events. I thought that was an interesting idea. So we'll have to see what that looks like in moving into 2022 and forward. And I just want to take a second and say, please go get a vaccine. I'm so over all this dumb stuff. I'm so over not attending shows, not to seeing friends. Just please, if you can, go get a vaccine. The goal here is to stay out of the hospital. That's everybody's goal. Stay out of the hospital. Stop clogging it up. Let people who have heart attacks, who have car accidents, go to the hospital. Right now, they're having hard times finding beds for those people, and they shouldn't, because so many people haven't gotten their vaccine. So please, if you've haven't had the chance to get the vaccine, just go get it. It's easy. I had it done. I had a shot in my arm. I felt sleepy the next day. No side effects except immense relief, because I didn't have to deal with this stupid thing anymore. And that's it. It's over. You're done. Walk away. Have a great day. So stay out of the hospital. Get a shot. And maybe we can all see each other again sometime in 2022. Love for that to happen. I'm so over this. Moving on to more fun things. Let's do this. I got to push the button here. Wyze. Wyze launched a new low-cost security camera. Hey, who would have guessed? But this time it's got a light strapped on top of it, it looks like. The new $50 Wyze Spotlight Cam, released this week on the Wyze website, isn't really even a new camera. It's the same V3 camera that kind of released earlier this year. Costs around $35, but it's missing a few options, like for correcting colors and brightness and all that kind of thing. But it includes a light, a 70 whole lumen light. Now, it's like, if you look at this thing, the light is absurdly small. I mean, the camera's small too, but the light is kind of like just laughably small. But it's got 70 lumens. It's kind of pales in comparison to what you would think is a normal, like the Ring floodlight that has 1800 lumens, and the smaller Ring Spotlight Cam, that one has 300 lumens. So 70 is nowhere near those. I don't know what this would be used for. It's got to be wired up for power, has 130 degree field of view, 1080p resolution, IP65 weather rating. Kind of means it can be good for, like, you can get it a little bit of wet. You can get a little wet, and you can get it, dust around it and that kind of thing. So it's got good outdoor rating, essentially, to it. Pre-order is going on now for $50. I don't know. This is kind of a goofy product. I just don't see what the appeal is here, or what the use case is. I guess if you had maybe, I have to go back to like Dave Zatz and Jason going after the mice, and Dave Zatz going after the chipmunks in his yard, and he puts the Wyze cameras or the Arlo cams outside and catches them that way. But I don't know. I don't really know what the appeal of this is. So if anybody has any ideas, let me know. I just don't get it. I really don't. I'd rather just maybe spend the $35 on the camera. And then also, hey, I missed this, but Wyze actually introduced some low-cost lights, believe it or not. Like, they have some smart bulbs that they've released earlier this month. The average cost of those was about $12 a bulb. So, I mean, you can get an 800 lumen bulb in your $35 camera and put them together. And yeah, there you go. When you just turn the light on when something's moving around, I guess. I don't know. But they have 800 lumen tunable white or a $15 for the RGB version, color versions, basically. I say average on those prices because it's like $50 for the 4-pack of the tunable whites and $25 for the, you can buy these in, all sorts of packs, so 1, 5, that kind of thing. So there's multiple ways of buying them, and you can, of course, the packs bring down the prices. They all work with Alexa, Google, if this, then that, and more. So kind of runs directly on the Wi-Fi, no hub needed. I also noticed they were taking pre-orders on some tape lighting, some RGB tape lighting that they call Light Strip Pro on their website. It runs about $30 for 16 feet and $45 for, I wish I got a picture of this one, $45 for 30 feet, so 32 feet, I guess. It's not a bad deal there, I don't think. Looks like you can control it all the ways that I talked about before with the other lights. And these are neat because they're using RGB pixels technology. So like each individual pixel or each individual RGB lamp is assignable on the color. So you can like segment off the color the way you want it to be. Jimmy is bringing up an interesting Spotlight's a bad name. It's bright enough. Let me bring you into the show here, Jimmy. Thanks for commenting. Spotlight's a bad name. It's just bright enough to provide enough light for their starlight sensor, which is quite good. So yeah, the starlight sensor, I want to say I've seen those in like similar type technology in other cameras. I think it's one of those like Sony products or something that you can get when you're OEM cameras and OEMing the little piece inside, and that brings out some like fake color type thing out of the dark, I guess. So what they're trying to do with that light is just give it a little bit more color and a little more light, so the starlight sensor picks up color, and that makes sense. But yeah, 70 lumens isn't that much. Those LED tape lights, those are supposedly shipping in October. So if you want to get them, head on over to Wyze's website and you can pre-order them now. Thought it was pretty cool. Also want to mention that Wyze just closed another $110 million of fundings at the end of July. So they're going to be launching, this is always the key here, right? They're going to be launching AI into their camera products. Okay. Like that's, everybody says that, right? I'm going to be putting AI into something, so give me more money. And they raised $110 million, not bad. They brought in $146 million in funding. It has about 30 products and around 300 employees right now. I think it's such a weird company. They've got everything covered now. They've got like vacuums. They've got these lights. They've got night lights that actually look pretty good. And they also have everything covered, including your feet. They have socks now. So I found some Wyze socks on their website, which I thought were pretty good. And they're wacky. They're wacky socks. I love wacky socks. So I bought some. They're $12. So half the cost of one of the cameras. But I get 2 socks. So I guess $6 each. That's a pretty good deal. I put a link to those in the show notes if anybody else is interested in getting some Wyze socks. So, all right, moving on. TCL announced pricing and availability for their 8K Roku TVs. 8K, yes, all of those 8Ks can be purchased for $2,100 for a 65-inch model and $3,000 for a 75-inch model. And those are expected to hit the stores next month. The 2 models are being pitched as an extended offering of the 6 Series TCL, which we've definitely talked about in the past. It also comes with THX certified game mode, variable refresh rate, and auto low latency features. All of those things mean to me that this is geared right towards gamers, because there's really no content out there right now for anybody else to watch on their TVs other than these gamers who are going to have consoles like PS5 or the Xbox Series X that should be able to push that many pixels around. Anything else, we're going to be waiting a long time before we see 8K content hit TVs en masse. We're just now, after all these years, getting to the point where we're getting 4K content hit, and still not, like 4K HD, 4K 60, 444. We're not seeing any of that. Like that, we're not hitting the extreme edges of the TVs and what they can really do. Very few and far between. Most of the times we're doing just 4K 30, 4K 424, I guess 422. Not the full spec. So it's good enough. It seems to be good enough. People seem to be passing that off. So yeah, again, no content on these, but these clearly are game toward with those other features on there. THX gaming mode, the low latency features, clearly aimed at gamers, and that's who I suspect will be purchasing these to use in their video games. Get those fast refresh rates and shoot them up faster, I guess. I don't know. Fortnite, I guess. I don't know what the kids are playing these days. I am not a gamer. I do not play many games. Doesn't work with my brain very well, and I just kind of don't like it. It hypes me up. I can't sleep all night. Decided not to play them. I'd rather sleep. So there you go. And lastly, thought this was kind of neat. T-Mobile has launched a pilot program and is offering fiber optic home internet services in a very small portion of New York City. The company's testing the service in select Manhattan residential buildings, offering 940 megabits upload and download speeds, along with a Wi-Fi 6 router. Seems to be a small test run. T-Mobile is using third-party providers' fiber and not even running their own lines for this stuff. The company told The Verge that more information will be available when and if the program rolls out more widely. So it seems to be just an experiment to see if this is something that people would want. I'm not even sure what the pricing is, but if you do live in Manhattan and you want to check to see if you can get it in your building, the pricing, there's a dedicated website you can go and I'll leave that in the show notes. You can go in and check that out. It's always good to see more competition in broadband here in the States. We don't have much. I only have one offering that I can get. And luckily they have to remain competitive because everybody else around us has two options and they can flip back and forth. But my single street, out of my entire neighborhood, I can't get fiber to the house. I have to go with cable. But so far they've managed to keep the rates low and keep increasing the speed. But I'd much rather have fiber where I can get matching upload and download speeds for things like tonight when I'm streaming and I get a notification that for some reason the bandwidth had to be knocked down or the quality had to get knocked down for the stream going out because of whatever. Who knows? But yeah, I would love to have better internet service sometimes than Comcast. So there we go. Moving on. All the links and topics discussed tonight can be found at the show notes at HomeTech.fm/360. Again, that link is HomeTech.fm/360. Let's see. Don't forget you can join us live. Whoops, went a little bit too far there. Don't forget you can join us live starting sometime between 7:30 p.m. Eastern Wednesdays, usually. Not quite tonight. Tonight was a little bit late, and whatever the show is tonight is going out live on the feed. I really don't even have time to edit things down. I've got a bunch of work I got to get off my desk. As you can tell, Cedia is still a time frame people try and finish products in, so gotta get back to work. Anyway, you can find out more on how to do that at HomeTech.fm/live. And got a cool pick of the week. I ran across this Twitter thread about an old product that I had never heard of before. And I've heard a lot of them, technology from the 1970s, but this one's actually pretty wild. And it was all referencing a listing for one of these massive TV, like an eBay listing for one of these massive TV consoles. I've got a picture of one here on the show, but you've seen these. And if you aren't old enough to have had one in your house or have actually owned one, you have seen these sitting out on the street corner for a trash pickup, especially in the last 10 years when people have been switching away from these older console TVs with CRT tuners in them over to something else. But these things were absolutely massive. They had, sometimes they had record players built into them. Sometimes they had, full AV systems and stereos built into them. people, I mean, they loved them. People had, these were very, very popular. But in the 1970s, you can get one of these built in with a thing called Cardivision and Cartrivision, sorry. And if you haven't heard of Cartrivision, you aren't alone. So about the same time the VCR tape was being introduced, there were few other companies. So that's back like in the 1970s, and AFCO introduced one of these. It's called Cartrivision. Back in the 1970s, first model of the TVs came equipped with Cartrivision. Like, you could not buy a Cartrivision player by itself. You could only buy it built into one of these massive TV things. So it sold in, I think, 1972, I believe, for $1,300 and $1,350, and that's equivalent to about $8,000 today. And it was the first video cassette recorder to have pre-recorded tapes of popular movies available for rent. So that was kind of unique. And I think one of the wacky things that they did was kind of this DRM thing that we would call today. That was more like analog rights management. Basically, if you got one of these cartridges, it was red, and you rented it, and the red cartridges you could only watch once. You couldn't rewind. There was no being kind with these things. You would watch it once, and the movie would be over, and you would take it back and return it to the retailer, and I guess rent another movie. They had a catalog of about 200 movies out at the time. These things were super rare. They were only on the market for probably a year. Looks like they stopped selling them in 1973 after about 12, 13 months of poor sales. There's a really I'll link in the show notes to this informative Twitter thread that I ran across. Also link to the Wikipedia page on this Cartrivision stuff. It's really cool. I like seeing this old technology, and seeing how people used it in the past. But if you're interested in more, check those out in the show notes. And that eBay listing actually went for that rare cart. It was like an entire TV with a Cartrivision set player inside. Went for like $1,500. So not a bad deal for a collector or somebody that was interested in that kind of thing. Let's see. Moving on here. If you have any feedback, comments, picks of the week, show ideas, anything, you want to give a shout out, give us a shout. The email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm, or you can visit HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form there. And wrapping things up, I do want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through the Patreon page. If you don't know about the Patreon page, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to the private Slack chat, The Hub, where you and other supporters of the show can gather every day to discuss the demise of the custom install industry, because that seems to what we're all about over there. I don't know. We were talking about mask wearing today. That's always a hot topic, right? These days. There was someone in the Slack channel today that was just making polarizing comments to get people riled up, and it was quite funny. It was actually quite funny. So, Gavin, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It was definitely fun there in the hub today. Everybody, you also get invited to our weekly chats that we've been having, the Home Tech Talks. Those have been a lot of fun, kind of extend the conversation, put some face-to-face time together with other members of the supporters of the show, and just get to talk about some really advanced things and learn things. We have these discussions. We talk about, sometimes if you're an integrator, we talk about jobs that we currently have. We may show off some plans, some ideas and that kind of thing. And if you're in the DIY space, I've had a bunch of good ideas come from people in the DIY space who have contributed back into those conversations. So it's a great conversation, I think, for the industry to have, and hopefully we can make it bigger and get more people involved with it. So to do that, of course, you have to become a patron over at HomeTech.fm/support. And if you want to help out with the show but can't help financially, totally understand. Just appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes or a positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. And I could not keep up with the chat for the second week in a row. There's probably like 5 or 6 people in here flying by with things, talking about I think you guys are talking about Google Beta now. And what is Alta Vista? Oh man, I am in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm gonna have to go back and read this chat. Anyway, thanks guys for hanging out in the show tonight and contributing. Those who commented on some of the stories earlier, really do appreciate you giving shout outs here on the show. It really does help move things along as best I can read them and keep moving the show the best I can do. Anyway, thanks very much, guys. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.